How did my own children sell my house while I was unconscious in surgery? And why did the realtor call me first instead of them? Why did they think a printed power of attorney would protect them, right up until I walked into their open house with a police officer? This is how a bricklayer everyone underestimated learned who truly owned the ground beneath their feet. While you're here, don't forget to subscribe, hit the hype button, and support this channel with a like. And tell us below. Have you ever faced something like this? I never thought the last conversation with my children before surgery would be about paperwork. Standing in my kitchen that Tuesday morning, I watched my older son flip through the folder I'd prepared. Medical directives, insurance cards, a single-page power of attorney I'd signed 3 years ago when his mother was still alive. It covered hospital decisions only, nothing more. "Dad, you worry too much," he said, sliding the folder across the counter without really looking at it. "You're getting a routine procedure. You'll be home by Thursday." My daughter nodded from the doorway, already checking her phone. She'd taken the day off work to drive me to the hospital, but her mind was elsewhere. Always was lately. "I just want everything organized," I told them. "That's how I've always done things." My son smiled the way people smile at the elderly. "We know. Everything filed, everything labeled. You're the most organized bricklayer in the state." I let that pass. 34 years laying brick, block, and stone. I'd built garden walls for judges and patios for surgeons. I'd repaired chimneys on historic homes and constructed retaining walls that would outlast everyone in this room. My hands were scarred and my back was stiff, but my work was solid. This house was solid too. I'd rebuilt half of it myself after buying it 26 years ago. New foundation on the east side, repointed all the mortar, replaced the porch brick by brick one summer while my wife brought me lemonade every hour. She'd been absent for 2 years now. A sudden cardiac collapse, final and unexpected. The kids had come to the service, stayed a week, then returned to their lives 2 states away. They called every few weeks, visited on holidays. Recently, those visits had included more questions about the house, about my finances, about whether I'd thought about simplifying my situation. I'd thought about it. Then I'd filed those thoughts in the same mental folder where I kept all the other things that didn't concern them. "We should go," my daughter said. "Check-in is at 9. I took one last look around the kitchen. Everything clean, everything in place. The deed to the house was in my office filing cabinet, second drawer in a folder marked property. The will was there too, notarized last year. Everything split evenly between them after I was gone, not before. The surgery was supposed to take 4 hours. Gallbladder removal, laparoscopic. The surgeon had explained it twice. Small incisions, camera guidance. Routine as routine gets for a man my age. I'd be unconscious, vulnerable, trusting. At the hospital, they walked me to pre-op and waited until the nurse came. My daughter kissed my forehead. My son shook my hand. They both promised to be there when I woke up. "We'll handle everything," my son said. I believed him. The anesthesiologist introduced herself. The surgeon stopped by to mark the incision sites. A nurse checked my wristband 3 times. Then they wheeled me down a white corridor into a white room where machines blinked and hummed. "Count backward from 10, someone said. I made it to 7. What I didn't know, what I couldn't know, was that at 9:47 a.m., while I was intubated and draped and opened, my son was sitting in a coffee shop 3 blocks away with his laptop. He pulled up a legal template website, filled in my name, filled in his name, selected General Power of Attorney from a drop-down menu, printed it on the shop's courtesy printer, signed my name in a handwriting he'd been practicing since Monday. At 10:15 a.m., while the surgeon was removing my gallbladder, my daughter was photographing every room of my house with her phone's camera. At 11:30 a.m., while I was being stitched closed, they were sitting across from a realtor in her office, presenting the forged power of attorney and asking about listing timelines. At 1 p.m., while I was in recovery and barely conscious, a lockbox was being installed on my front door. I didn't know any of this yet. All I knew was the ceiling tiles in the recovery room, the oxygen tube in my nose, and the deep ache in my abdomen that the nurse said was normal. What wasn't normal was the silence. No children waiting, no flowers, no balloons with cheerful messages. Just a nurse adjusting my IV and telling me I'd done great. My phone was in the drawer beside the bed. I couldn't reach it yet. Couldn't focus enough to care. Outside, 3 miles away, a for sale sign was being planted in my front yard. I built that house with my own hands. Not literally. I didn't pour the foundation or frame the walls, but close enough. When I bought it in 1999, it was a foreclosure wreck with a sagging porch and a chimney that dropped bricks every time the wind picked up. The inspector said it needed $30,000 in repairs. The bank sold it to me for $65,000 cash. I'd saved that money over 15 years, Every overtime shift, every weekend side job, every penny my wife and I didn't spend on anything that wasn't essential. The first thing I fixed was the chimney. Tore it down to the roofline, rebuilt it with proper flashing and a new cap. My wife watched from the driveway, 7 months pregnant with our son, shaking her head at me working in August heat. "You're going to fall," she called up. "I'm not going to fall." I didn't fall. I never fell. Bricklayers don't fall if they respect the scaffold and the physics and the mortar. The porch came next. Every board rotted through. I stripped it to the joists, replaced the structure, then laid new brick steps that matched the house's original 1940s style. It took me 3 weekends. My hands bled through the gloves. My knees swelled. My wife brought me ice packs and told me I was insane. "We could hire someone," she said. "We could," I agreed. "But then it wouldn't be ours." She understood. She always understood. Our son was born that September. Our daughter 3 years later. They grew up in that house, learned to walk on those brick steps, carved their initials into the oak tree in the backyard, built snow forts against the garden wall I'd constructed one spring. I taught them how to mix mortar, how to level a course, how to read a blueprint. My son paid attention for about 20 minutes before wandering off. My daughter lasted longer, but got frustrated when her wall wasn't perfect on the first try. "It doesn't have to be perfect," I told her. "It has to be solid." She didn't see the difference. They went to college, got degrees, got jobs in cities with tall buildings and expensive coffee. They'd call home occasionally, usually when they needed advice about something, a lease dispute, a car repair, a job offer. I'd give them my thoughts. They'd thank me politely. Sometimes they'd take my advice. Usually they wouldn't. When my wife got sick, they came home, stayed 2 months, helped with hospital visits and insurance paperwork and the 1,000 small tasks that come with watching someone fade. She passed on a Tuesday morning in March. The daffodils were blooming. She'd planted them 15 years earlier along the south side of the house where the sun hit first. The funeral was well attended. My wife had taught elementary school for 30 years. Half the town had been in her classroom at some point. The kids, adults now, really handled the arrangements. I sat in the front pew and listened to people tell stories about a woman I'd loved for 35 years. After the burial, after the reception, after everyone had gone home, I stood in my kitchen and realized how quiet the house was. My children stayed another week, helped me sort through closets and donate clothes and update legal documents. That's when I signed the medical power of attorney. "Just in case," my daughter said, "so we can make decisions if you're ever unable to." I read it carefully before signing. It was specific. Medical decisions only, hospital care, treatment options, nothing about property, nothing about finances. I signed it, had it notarized at the bank. Then they went back to their lives and I went back to mine. I kept working, took contracts for small residential jobs, repaired a brick mailbox for a widow on Oakmont Street, built a fire pit for a young couple who just bought their first house, repointed the mortar on the Presbyterian church downtown. I kept the house immaculate, mowed the lawn, cleaned the gutters, touched up paint. Every room exactly as my wife had left it, except without her in it. The kids called more frequently after she passed. At first I thought they were checking on me, then I realized they were checking on the house. "Have you thought about downsizing?" my son asked one Sunday. "No. It's just a lot of space for one person." "It's my space." "Right, but maintenance costs, property taxes, utilities are all paid," I said. "On time, every month." He dropped it. For a while. My daughter tried a different angle. "We were talking," she said during a holiday visit, "about maybe setting up a trust, something to protect the house value." "The house value is fine. But if you ever needed assisted living or medical care, I'll handle that when it happens. Dad, we're just trying to help." I knew what they were trying to do. I'd seen it happen to 3 of my coworkers over the years. Kids who thought they knew better. Kids who thought their aging parents were losing their grip. Kids who thought paperwork and good intentions justified taking control. I wasn't losing my grip. I was holding on tighter. The gallbladder issue started in January. Pain after meals, nausea. The doctor ordered an ultrasound. Gallstones, surgery recommended. I scheduled it for April, gave myself 3 months to prepare. Updated my will, organized my files, made sure every document was exactly where it needed to be. The deed was in the filing cabinet. Second drawer, property folder, my name only. No joint ownership, no transfer on demise. Just me. I'd checked it twice the week before surgery. Once on Monday night, once Tuesday morning before my son arrived. It was still there, still valid, still mine. I didn't know I'd need that certainty, but I'd need it soon. The first thing I noticed when I fully woke up was the clock. 4:17 p.m. I'd been unconscious for over 7 hours. The second thing I noticed was the absence. No children, no voices. Just the steady beep of monitors and the antiseptic smell of hospital air. A different nurse was checking my vitals, younger than the first one. She smiled when she saw my eyes open. "Welcome back, Mr. Corvin. How's your pain level?" "Manageable," I said. My throat was raw from the breathing tube. "On a scale of 1 to 10? 5. She made a note. "Your surgeon will check on you in about an hour. You did great. Everything went smoothly." "My kids, they left around noon, said they had to take care of some things. They'll check in later." "Some things." "Right." She handed me a cup of water with a straw. I sipped carefully. My abdomen felt like someone had inflated a balloon inside it and then let it pop. "Your phone's in the drawer," she said, "but try to rest. Don't overdo it." I waited until she left. Then I reached for the drawer. Every movement pulled at the incisions. I gritted my teeth and retrieved my phone. 6 missed calls, 4 voicemails. None from my children. The first 2 calls were from the hospital's automated system, appointment reminders I'd already seen. The third was from my insurance company, pre-recorded message about coverage verification. The fourth call was from a number I didn't recognize, local area code. Left a voicemail at 11:43 a.m. I played it. "Hello, Mr. Corvin. This is Janet Reeves from Cornerstone Realty. I'm calling about the listing for 447 Meadowbrook Drive. I have a few questions about the property disclosure and the power of attorney on file. If you could give me a call back at your earliest convenience, I'd appreciate it. Thanks." I played it again. Listing. Power of attorney. My address. My house. My hands went cold. I sat up too fast and the pain shot through my middle like a blade. I gasped, waited for it to pass, then played the message a third time. I wasn't confused. I wasn't medicated to the point of misunderstanding. This was clear. Someone had listed my house for sale. I called the number back. It rang 4 times, then went to voicemail. "You've reached Janet Reeves at Cornerstone Realty. Please leave a message." I hung up. Checked the time. 4:30 p.m. Tuesday afternoon. Real estate offices close at 5. I called my son. Straight to voicemail. I didn't leave a message. I called my daughter. Same thing. I lay back against the pillows, staring at the ceiling. My mind was clear now. Sharp. The kind of clarity that comes from 34 years of measuring twice and cutting once. The kind that comes from knowing when something is off by even 1/8 of an inch. They'd listed my house while I was unconscious on an operating table. They'd used a power of attorney that didn't grant them that authority. They'd forged my signature or lied to the realtor or both, and they thought I wouldn't find out until it was too late. I pressed the call button. The young nurse returned. "I need to make some calls," I said. "Is there somewhere private I can go?" "You're post-op. You need to stay in bed." "Then can someone get me a laptop? I need to check some documents." She hesitated. "Mr. Corvin, you just had surgery. You should rest." "I'll rest after I check my email." She studied my face, saw something there that made her nod. "I'll see what I can do." 20 minutes later, she brought me a hospital tablet. 10 minutes, she said. Then you're resting whether you like it or not. I logged into my email, scrolled through the unread messages, found the one I was looking for. Subject, listing agreement, 447 Meadowbrook Drive. Sent at 2:34 p.m. today from Janet Reeves to my son's email address, CC'd to my daughter. I wasn't on the email. They hadn't included me. I opened it. Attached is the signed listing agreement for the above property. Please review and confirm all information is correct. We'll schedule professional photos for Thursday and plan to list by Friday pending disclosure completion. Open house scheduled for Sunday, 1 to 4 p.m. Looking forward to working with you both. Attached was a PDF. I downloaded it, opened it, standard residential listing agreement, sale price, $495,000. My house, which I'd bought for $65,000 and put another $100,000 into over 26 years, listed like it was theirs to sell. Seller's signature line, a scrawled version of my name that wasn't my handwriting. Agent signature, Janet Reeves, dated today. At the bottom, a note, power of attorney on file. I closed the tablet, handed it back to the nurse. "Everything okay?" she asked. "No," I said, "but it will be." I called the realtor's number again. Still voicemail. This time I left a message. "Ms. Reeves, this is Elias Corvin, the owner of 447 Meadowbrook Drive. I received your voicemail. I did not authorize any listing of my property. The power of attorney you have on file is for medical decisions only and does not grant authority for real estate transactions. I'll be contacting you tomorrow to resolve this. Do not proceed with any marketing or showings." My voice was calm, steady, the same tone I used when explaining to a homeowner that their contractor had installed the wrong brick and it would need to be redone. I hung up, closed my eyes, let the pain medication start to work. My children had made a mistake, a significant, legally actionable mistake. They'd assumed I wouldn't notice, or wouldn't wake up in time, or wouldn't understand what they were doing. They were wrong on all counts. I'd spent my entire adult life building things that lasted, things that could be measured and verified and documented. They were about to learn what that meant. I was discharged Thursday afternoon. Against the surgeon's preference, he wanted me to stay another day, but I signed the waiver and arranged my own ride home through a medical transport service. The driver was a retired EMT who didn't ask questions, just helped me into the van, secured my seatbelt, and drove me to my house in silence. When we pulled up to 487 Meadowbrook Drive, I saw it immediately. The for sale sign in the front yard, Cornerstone Realty, Janet Reeves, phone number in bold letters. The driver noticed my expression. "You selling?" "No," I said. He helped me out of the van. I stood on the sidewalk I'd repaired 2 summers ago and stared at the sign. Professional, official, completely unauthorized. A lockbox hung from my front doorknob. I had my keys. I unlocked the door, my lock, my key, my house, and went inside. Everything looked normal. Furniture in place, kitchen clean, but something felt wrong. The air was different, disturbed. I walked through each room slowly, one hand pressed against my sore abdomen. Living room, dining room, kitchen, everything staged, perfectly arranged. My personal items, mail, reading glasses, the coffee mug I'd left on the counter Tuesday morning, all gone, hidden or removed. They'd prepared my house for sale. While I was in the hospital recovering from surgery, I found my mail in a kitchen drawer, my reading glasses in the office desk, my coffee mug in the dishwasher. On the kitchen counter, a folder. Inside, professionally printed property disclosure forms. Half completed, checked boxes claiming things about the roof, the foundation, the electrical system. My son's handwriting in the margins. I took photos of everything with my phone, documented each room, each change, each piece of evidence. Then I called Cornerstone Realty. This time, Janet Reeves answered. "Cornerstone Realty, this is Janet." "Ms. Reeves, this is Elias Corvin." A pause. "Mr. Corvin, I got your message. I was planning to call you tomorrow." "I'm home now. I'd like to discuss this in person." "Of course. Would Monday work? I have an opening at 10. "Tomorrow, 9 a.m. Another pause. "I can do that. Do you want your son and daughter there?" "No, just you and me." "All right, I'll see you then." I hung up and called my son. Still voicemail. This time I left a message. "We need to talk. Call me back immediately." I called my daughter. Same message. Neither called back that evening. I spent the night in my recliner, unable to lie flat without pain. I didn't sleep much. Just sat in the dark house I'd rebuilt brick by brick and thought about what came next. Friday morning, I dressed carefully. Work pants, work jacket, steel-toe boots. I looked like exactly what I was, a bricklayer who'd spent 34 years solving problems with precision and patience. Cornerstone Realty was in a strip mall on the east side of town. Glass front, glossy signs in the windows, successful sales displayed like trophies. Janet Reeves met me in the lobby. Mid-40s, professional suit, wary smile. "Mr. Corvin, thank you for coming in. How are you feeling?" "I've been better." She led me to a small conference room, closed the door, sat across from me with a folder. "I want to be transparent," she said. "Your son and daughter came to me on Tuesday. They presented a power of attorney and explained that you were having surgery and had asked them to handle selling the house while you recovered. Everything seemed legitimate. Did you verify the power of attorney?" "I reviewed it. It appeared valid." "Did you call me?" She shifted in her chair. "Your son said you were in surgery and would be unavailable for several days. He assured me you'd signed off on everything." "I was unavailable because I was unconscious, not because I'd authorized a sale." "I understand that now." I pulled a document from my jacket pocket. The medical power of attorney, the real one. I slid it across the table. "This is the power of attorney I signed 3 years ago. Read it." She read it. Her expression changed. "This only covers medical decisions." "Correct. The one your son showed me was different. General power of attorney. It included property transactions. Do you still have it? She opened her folder, pulled out a photocopy, slid it to me. I studied it. Computer-generated, generic template language. My name typed in, my signature at the bottom, or what was supposed to be my signature. Close, but not quite right. The E was too narrow. The final N had a hook I never used. This is forged, I said. Her face went pale. Are you certain? I pulled out my driver's license, showed her the signature on the back, then signed my name on her notepad 3 times. She compared them. The differences were obvious once you looked. I need to call my broker, she said quietly. Yes, you do. She left the room. I sat there alone, looking at the forged document. My children had tried to sell my house with a fake signature and a lie. 10 minutes later, Janet returned with a man in his 50s. Gray suit, grave expression. Mr. Corvin, I'm David Mills, managing broker. I've just been briefed on the situation. I want to apologize for this office's role in it. Your agent acted reasonably, I said. She was lied to. Nevertheless, we should have done more verification. We're terminating the listing immediately. The sign will be removed today. The lockbox is already being retrieved. What about the open house scheduled for Sunday? Cancelled. We'll contact anyone who scheduled a showing. And the listing agreement? Void. We'll document everything and provide you with copies. If you want to pursue legal action against your children, we'll cooperate fully. I nodded. I appreciate your cooperation. Mills hesitated. Mr. Corvin, I have to ask, are you planning to press charges? I haven't decided yet. If you do, we have documentation of everything. The forged POA, the listing agreement, communications with your son and daughter, it's all time-stamped and filed. Keep it available. They walked me out. At the door, Janet touched my arm. I'm sorry. I should have called you directly, before anything was signed. Yes, I said. You should have. I drove to the bank, verified that my accounts were untouched. No unusual activity, no attempted withdrawals. They'd focused on the house. Then I drove to the county records office, pulled up the property records for 447 Meadowbrook Drive. Deed recorded in my name, sole owner. No liens, no transfers, no changes since 1999. I requested certified copies. 3 of them. Paid the fee, put them in my truck. My phone buzzed. Finally, my son calling back. Dad, sorry I missed your call. Everything okay? No, I said. Everything is not okay. What's wrong? Are you feeling all right? I'm home. I found the for sale sign. I met with your realtor. I saw the forged power of attorney. Silence. Dad, we can explain. Don't. Not on the phone. We'll talk on Sunday, 1 p.m., at the house. Sunday? That's when the open house. There is no open house. The listing is canceled. The sign is coming down. You and your sister will be here at 1 p.m. to explain yourselves. In person. More silence. We were trying to help. You were trying to steal my house. See you Sunday. I hung up. Saturday morning, I drove past my house to confirm the sign was gone. It was. The lockbox, too. Just my front yard, my porch, my home looking exactly as it should. I didn't stop. Didn't pull in. Just drove by and kept going. I had work to do. First stop, my office filing cabinet. I removed the original deed, the original medical power of attorney, my will, insurance policies, every document that mattered, laid them on my desk and photographed each one, front and back, every page, high resolution. The deed was dated July 12, 1999, 26 years old. The paper had yellowed slightly at the edges, but the text was clear. My name in the buyer line. No co-signers, no joint ownership. The notary seal still visible, raised and official. I ran my finger over it, feeling the texture. This was real, legal, unambiguous. The medical power of attorney was newer, signed 3 years ago, right after my wife passed. I remembered sitting at the bank with both kids, the notary watching as I read every word before signing. It was 2 pages, simple language, limited scope, medical decisions only, hospital care, treatment options, end-of-life directives. Nothing about property, nothing about real estate, nothing about selling anything. I photographed both documents from multiple angles, close-ups of signatures, wide shots showing full pages, detail shots of dates and notary seals. If anyone questioned the authenticity later, I'd have proof. Then I made copies at the print shop, certified copies from the county records office plus my own duplicates. 3 full sets, 1 for my lawyer, 1 for my safe deposit box, 1 in my truck. The woman behind the counter at the print shop noticed my careful handling of the papers. Important documents? She asked. Very, I said. She ran them through carefully, making sure every copy was crisp and clear. I checked each one before paying. Perfect reproduction. The notary seals showed up dark and distinct. The signatures were legible. Everything was exact. Second stop, my attorney's office. Patricia Mendez had handled my wife's estate and my will updates. She was expecting me. I'd called her Friday evening, given her the basics over the phone. Now she needed to see everything. Elias, she said, standing when I entered. I heard about the surgery. Should you be out? I should be doing exactly what I'm doing. Her office was neat and organized, much like my own workspace. Files in labeled cabinets, books arranged by subject, a desk free of clutter except for a single yellow legal pad and a pen. I showed her everything. The forged power of attorney, the listing agreement, the timeline of events, the realtor's confirmation of fraud. I laid it out methodically, document by document, explaining each piece. She listened without interrupting, took notes in precise handwriting, examined the documents with a lawyer's trained eye, comparing signatures, checking dates, reading every line of fine print. This is straightforward fraud, she said finally. Forgery. Possibly theft by deception. You could pursue criminal charges. Could I stop them without criminal charges? You already have. The listing is canceled. The house is secure. They have no legal claim. What if they try again? She tapped her pen against the notepad. Then we get a restraining order. We revoke any existing powers of attorney formally and in writing. We file notice with the county that any future attempts to transfer or encumber the property are unauthorized. We make it legally clear that they have no authority over your property or finances. Do it. All of it. She nodded slowly. I'll draft everything Monday. We'll have it notarized and filed by end of business Tuesday, but Elias, these are your children. These are thieves who happen to be related to me. Fair enough. She made another note. You should also consider updating your will. Add specific language about this incident. Make it clear that any future inheritance is contingent on no further attempts to access your property during your lifetime. Will that hold up? Absolutely. It's called a no contest clause. If they challenge it or try anything similar again, they forfeit their inheritance entirely. I thought about that. My wife wouldn't have wanted this. She'd believed in family, in forgiveness, in second chances, but she also believed in consequences, in teaching lessons that mattered. Add it, I said. One more thing, Patricia said. You mentioned a meeting tomorrow at your house. Do you want me there? No, I want a police officer there, as a witness. I've already arranged it. Good. Don't make any agreements. Don't sign anything. Don't promise anything. Just let them explain themselves and then end the meeting. That's the plan. Third stop, the police station. I asked for a non-emergency consultation, explained the situation to a detective in the fraud division, showed him the documents. He was younger than me by maybe 15 years. Wedding ring, photos of kids on his desk. He studied the forged power of attorney with a professional skepticism that I recognized. The same look I gave when a contractor tried to tell me their cheap mortar was just as good as the proper stuff. You want to file charges? He asked. Not yet. I want documentation, a paper trail, in case I need it. Smart. We'll open a case file. No active investigation unless you request it, but everything will be on record. He typed notes into his computer. Do you have copies of these documents I can keep? I handed him a full set. He reviewed each page, then scanned them into the system. Can you provide a civil standby for Sunday afternoon? My house, 1 p.m. You expecting trouble? I'm expecting an argument. I'd like a witness. He checked the schedule on his computer. Sure, we can send an officer, just to keep the peace. No law enforcement action unless something criminal occurs. That's all I need. He printed a case number on a card and handed it to me. Keep this. If anything else happens, any contact from them, any other attempted fraud, call this number and reference this case. I pocketed the card. Thank you. For what it's worth, he said as I stood to leave. I've seen this before. Adult children who think they know better. Usually doesn't end well for them. No, I agreed. It usually doesn't. Fourth stop, my house. I went inside and looked at every room the way my children had looked at it, with calculation, with appraisal, with disregard for what it meant. The living room where my wife had read to our children every night. The old couch we'd bought used in 2003, reupholstered once, still comfortable. The bookshelf I'd built from oak planks, each shelf perfectly level. The window where morning light came through in winter, warming the floor. They'd looked at this and seen staging potential. Furniture to remove or rearrange. space to maximize for buyers. The kitchen where we'd shared 33 years of meals, the table I'd refinished twice, the cabinets I'd installed myself, making sure every door hung true. The tile backsplash my wife had chosen, each piece placed carefully over one long weekend. They'd looked at this and seen outdated fixtures, countertops to critique, appliances to list in the disclosure forms, the bedroom where I'd held her hand while she slept for the last time, the quilt her mother had made as a wedding gift, the dresser that had been in her family for 3 generations, the closet where her clothes still hung because I wasn't ready to let them go. They'd looked at this and seen square footage, a master suite, potential selling points. I'd built it, repaired it, maintained it, paid for it, earned it with my hands and my labor and my time. It was mine, not theirs. Mine. I walked through each room slowly, remembering. The spot in the hallway where my son had measured his height every birthday until he turned 12. The mark was still there, pencil lines on the doorframe, the corner of the dining room where my daughter had hidden during thunderstorms when she was little, the window in the kitchen where my wife had stood every morning, drinking coffee and watching birds at the feeder. These weren't selling points. These were memories, life, history. And they'd tried to erase all of it for $500,000. Sunday morning, I woke early, showered carefully, avoiding the incisions. The pain was less now, more of an ache than a sharp burn. I dressed in clean work clothes, made coffee, sat at my kitchen table, and waited. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I could hear the refrigerator humming, the clock ticking on the wall, my own breathing. I thought about calling them, canceling the meeting, just handling everything through lawyers and staying out of it. But that wasn't how I worked. I'd never avoided confrontation when it mattered. I'd never let someone else fight my battles. This was my house, my life, my integrity. They were going to face me, look me in the eye, explain themselves. At 12:30 p.m., I rechecked every document, made sure I had copies of everything within reach, the deed on the coffee table, the medical POA beside it, the forged version they'd created, the canceled listing agreement. At 12:45 p.m., a police cruiser pulled up outside. Officer in his late 30s. Name tag, Patterson. I met him at the door. Thanks for coming. Civil standby, right? Family dispute over property? My children attempted to sell my house without authorization. They're coming to discuss it. You want me inside or outside? Inside. As a witness? Works for me. He stood in the living room, hands clasped, expression neutral. Professional presence, institutional authority. He didn't ask questions, didn't judge, just stood there, solid and official. At 12:58 p.m., my son's car pulled up. Both of them got out, walked to the door, saw the police car, hesitated. I opened the door before they could knock. Come in. They entered slowly, saw Officer Patterson, stopped. Dad, why is there a cop here? My daughter asked. To keep things civil. Sit down. They sat on the couch. I remained standing. Officer Patterson stayed near the window, observing. My son looked at the documents on the coffee table. Recognition flickered across his face. We can explain, he started. Then explain, I said. My son leaned forward, hands clasped between his knees. He'd practiced this, I could tell. Rehearsed the words, chosen the tone carefully. Dad, we know you're upset, but you have to understand. We were thinking about your future, about what's best for you. Best for me. Yes, this house is too much for you. The maintenance, the property taxes, the utilities. You're almost 60. You just had surgery. What happens when something major breaks, when the roof needs replacing or the furnace goes out? I fix it, I said, like I always have. But you can't do that forever. We were trying to help you transition before you had to, while you could still get a good price and have options. My daughter nodded. We looked into senior living communities, really nice places with activities and medical care on site. With what this house would sell for, you could afford somewhere comfortable, somewhere you wouldn't have to worry about anything. I don't worry about anything now. Dad, you live alone in a 4-bedroom house. That's not practical. It's my house. We know, but do you? I picked up the forged power of attorney. Because this document says otherwise. This says you have authority over my property. General power of attorney. Effective immediately. Signed by me. I held it up so Officer Patterson could see it. Except I didn't sign this. I've never seen this document before Tuesday when the realtor showed it to me. My son's face went pale. We used a template online. You thought you could forge my signature and I wouldn't notice? It's not forgery. We're your children. We have your best interests. Show me the power of attorney I actually signed. My daughter opened her purse, pulled out a folded paper, the medical POA, the real one. She handed it to me. I unfolded it. Read the first paragraph aloud. This document grants authority to make medical decisions on behalf of Elias Corvin in the event he is unable to make such decisions himself. This authority is limited to healthcare decisions and does not extend to financial, legal, or property matters. I looked at them. Does that sound like permission to sell my house? We were trying to save time, my son said. You are going to be recovering for weeks. The market is good right now. We didn't want you to miss the opportunity. The opportunity to lose my home? To transition, my daughter corrected. To move somewhere better suited to your needs. I sat down in my recliner. The same chair I'd sat in every evening for 15 years. The same chair where I'd held my wife while she cried about the diagnosis. Where I'd read the newspaper every Sunday morning. Where I'd dozed off watching baseball games on summer afternoons. Let me make sure I understand, I said quietly. You decided, without asking me, without discussing it with me, that I needed to sell my house and move into a facility. You created a fake document to give yourselves legal authority you didn't have. You contacted a realtor while I was unconscious during surgery. You listed my house for sale. You scheduled an open house. You staged the interior. You removed my personal belongings. All of this before I even woke up from anesthesia. My son opened his mouth, closed it, said nothing. And you thought this was helping me. We were going to tell you, my daughter said, after you recovered, after we had offers, after we found you a good place to move to, after it was too late for me to stop you, after you could see the benefits. I picked up my phone, pulled up the voicemail from the realtor, played it on speaker. Hello, Mr. Corvin. This is Janet Reeves from Cornerstone Realty. I'm calling about the listing for 447 Meadowbrook Drive. I have a few questions about the property disclosure and the power of attorney on file. I stopped the playback. She called me Tuesday at 11:43 a.m. while I was still in recovery because something about your paperwork didn't feel right. She's a professional. She knows what real authorization looks like, and yours didn't pass the smell test. So you sabotaged the listing, my son said, voice rising. You called her and canceled everything before giving us a chance to explain. I canceled a fraudulent listing of my property. Yes, we're your family. You're criminals who happen to share my last name. Officer Patterson shifted slightly, not intervening, just reminding everyone he was there. My daughter tried a different approach. Softer voice, gentle expression. Dad, we love you. We're worried about you. Living alone, working at your age, refusing to accept that you might need help. I didn't refuse help. You never offered help. You offered theft. That's not fair. Show me where I'm wrong. I gestured to the documents on the table. Point to the place where you asked my permission, where you included me in the decision, where you treated me like a competent adult instead of an obstacle to remove. Silence. You know what you did? I continued. You waited until I was unconscious on an operating table. You created fake legal documents. You lied to a real estate professional. You prepared my house for sale like I was already gone, like I didn't matter, like my choices didn't matter. We thought you'd be angry at first, my son admitted, but we thought once you saw the numbers, once you saw the options, you'd understand we were right. Right about what? About you needing to make changes. Changes you decided on. Changes that benefit you. How do they benefit us? My daughter demanded. We're not getting the money. It would go into a trust for your care. A trust you'd control. For your benefit. Without my consent. I stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the street I'd lived on for 26 years. The neighbor's house where I'd rebuilt their front steps after the husband had a stroke. The corner where the school bus used to stop when my kids were young. The sidewalk I'd shoveled every winter, sometimes for the whole block when elderly neighbors couldn't manage it. I worked 34 years, I said, not turning around. Laid brick in 100-degree heat and below zero cold. Ruined my knees and my back. Missed my son's baseball games and my daughter's dance recitals because I was working overtime to pay for this house. To build something. To create stability for my family. I turned to face them. Your mother and I bought this house when you were babies. We made it a home. We raised you here. We celebrated every birthday, every holiday, every milestone here. She planted those flowers in the front yard. I built that porch. Together we created something that mattered. My voice stayed level, calm. But I saw them flinch anyway. And you looked at all of that and saw an asset to liquidate. Dad, I'm not finished. I picked up the deed. This is my name, not yours, mine. I bought this property. I maintain it. I pay the taxes. I make the decisions. And when I'm ready to sell it, if I'm ever ready to sell it, I'll make that choice myself. What if you can't? My son asked. What if you have another health issue? What if you fall or get sick or... Then I'll deal with it, like an adult, like I've dealt with everything else in my life. By shutting us out? By making my own choices. My daughter's eyes were wet. We're your children. We're supposed to take care of you. Taking care of me means respecting me, not stealing from me. We weren't stealing. I held up the forged document. This is fraud, forgery. The police detective I spoke with yesterday called it theft by deception. I have a case file number. I have documentation. I have witnesses. If I wanted to, I could have you both arrested. The color drained from my daughter's face. You wouldn't. Give me a reason why not. Officer Patterson spoke for the first time. Mr. Corvin is correct. What you did constitutes multiple criminal offenses: forgery of a legal document, attempted fraud, possibly conspiracy. Any prosecutor in the county would take this case. My son stood up. This is insane. We're family. Family doesn't prosecute family over misunderstandings. This wasn't a misunderstanding, I said. This was calculated, planned, executed while I was at my most vulnerable. You knew exactly what you were doing. We knew we were helping. You knew you were taking control. There's a difference. The room went quiet. Outside, I could hear a lawnmower running, a dog barking, normal Sunday sounds, normal life happening while my family fell apart in my living room. Finally, my daughter spoke. What do you want from us? I want you to leave. Dad, I want you to get in your car, drive away, and think about what you've done. Really think about it. Not how to justify it or excuse it. Actually examine your choices and ask yourself if this is who you want to be. Are you going to press charges? My son asked. I haven't decided. What would make you decide not to? I looked at them both. Saw my son's jawline, just like mine. Saw my daughter's eyes, just like her mother's. Saw two people I'd raised and loved and provided for, now standing in my house like strangers. Leave, I said again. We'll talk about everything else later, after I've had time to think, after you've had time to be honest with yourselves. They gathered their things slowly. My son paused at the door. Dad, we really were trying to help. I know you believe that, I said. That's what makes this so sad. They left. I watched from the window as they got in the car, sat there for a moment talking, then drove away. Officer Patterson closed his notepad. You want me to file anything? Not yet. Just keep the record active. Will do. For what it's worth, you handled that well. Stayed calm, stated facts, didn't let it escalate. 34 years of dealing with difficult contractors, I said. You learned to keep your emotions separate from the work. He left shortly after. I locked the door behind him and stood alone in my house. My living room, my kitchen, my home, everything exactly as it should be, except the family I'd built it for was gone. Monday morning, I sat in Patricia's office while she reviewed the documents I'd brought. The scene from Sunday played in my mind on a loop. My children's faces when they realized I wasn't backing down, the silence after Officer Patterson mentioned criminal charges, the sound of their car pulling away. Patricia looked up from the papers. You didn't tell them about the will revision. No. Why not? Because I wanted to see if they'd contact me, if they'd apologize, if any of it would sink in. I shifted in the chair, my abdomen still sore. They haven't called, haven't texted, nothing. She made a note on her legal pad. The revocation documents are ready. Once you sign these, the medical power of attorney is formally void. Any future medical decisions would require a new, separately notarized document. What about the no contest clause? Already drafted into the will update. Language is very clear. Any attempt to access, encumber, transfer, or otherwise control your property during your lifetime results in complete forfeiture of inheritance rights. They get nothing. Will it hold up if challenged? Absolutely. You're of sound mind, acting without duress, and you have documented cause. The fraud attempt is on record with police and the real estate broker. No judge would overturn this. I signed each document where she indicated. My signature, the real one, with the proper spacing and the slight upward tilt at the end that the forged version had missed. I'll file these today, Patricia said. County records, probate court, and copies to the police case file. By end of business, everything is locked down legally. Should I notify them? That's your choice. Legally, you don't have to. The will doesn't become relevant until after you pass. But if you want them to understand the consequences now, I thought about it. My son's voice on Sunday, family doesn't prosecute family over misunderstandings. My daughter's question, what do you want from us? What did I want? An apology would be hollow now. An explanation would just be more excuses. Money didn't matter. They'd tried to take the house, not because they needed the funds, but because they'd decided they knew better. Send them a certified letter, I said finally. Inform them that the power of attorney has been revoked, that any future contact regarding my property, finances, or medical decisions will be considered harassment. That legal action remains an option if they attempt any further unauthorized access to my affairs. Cold but clear, Patricia observed. They made it clear first. After the lawyer's office, I drove to the bank, asked to speak with the branch manager about my accounts, showed her the police case number, and explained what had happened. We need to add extra security, I told her. Password verification for any transactions. Alert notifications for any access attempts. I want to know if anyone tries to use my name for anything. She typed notes into her computer. We can flag your accounts for potential fraud. Any unusual activity triggers an immediate call to your cell phone. No transactions processed without verbal confirmation from you personally. Do it. I'm sorry this happened, Mr. Corvin. Unfortunately, we see it more often than people realize. Family members, especially adult children, assuming they have authority they don't actually possess. How often do the parents fight back? She paused. Not often enough. Most just let it happen. They're embarrassed, or they don't want conflict, or they think they're being difficult. I'm not most parents. I can see that. Next stop was the county records office. I filed notice that any future attempts to transfer, mortgage, or otherwise encumber the property at 447 Meadowbrook Drive without my personal, in-person, notarized signature were fraudulent. The clerk stamped it, entered it into the system, and handed me a certified copy. This is good for 5 years, she explained. After that, you can renew if needed. Anyone doing a title search will see this flag immediately. What if I actually want to sell someday? You come in personally with ID. We verify. You sign in front of a notary with witnesses. It's extra steps, but it protects you. Extra steps are fine. On the way home, I stopped at the hardware store, bought new locks for every exterior door, grade 1 deadbolts, high security pins, keys that couldn't be easily duplicated. The kid at the checkout looked at my purchases. Upgrading security? Something like that. I spent Monday afternoon installing the locks. Every door, front, back, side entrance, garage. The work was methodical, familiar. Measure the back set, drill the holes, chisel the strike plate mortise, test the action. My hands remembered the process from dozens of similar jobs over the years. The physical work helped. Focusing on alignment and function kept my mind from dwelling on Sunday's confrontation. I thought instead about tolerances and fit, about making sure each bolt shot cleanly into its strike, about the satisfying click of a lock engaging properly. By evening, my house was secure. New locks, new keys. Only I had copies. Only I could enter. Tuesday morning, my phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. The message was from my son. Dad, we got a letter from your lawyer. We need to talk about this. You can't just cut us out over a mistake. Call me back. A mistake. That's what he was calling it now. I deleted the voicemail. 2 hours later, my daughter called from her number. I didn't answer. She left a message too. Dad, please. We know you're angry, but this is going too far. We're your children. We deserve a conversation at least. Mom wouldn't want this. Invoking her mother. That was a new tactic. I deleted that message too. Wednesday, a certified letter arrived. From my son's address. I signed for it, opened it at my kitchen table, 3 pages. Typed, formal, probably drafted with a lawyer's help. It started with an apology. We regret any distress our actions may have caused, phrased like a corporate PR statement. Distanced, careful. The second page explained their reasoning again. My age, my health, their concerns, the practical benefits of downsizing, the quality senior communities they'd researched. All the same arguments wrapped in gentler language. The third page was the ask. They wanted to move forward as a family. They suggested mediation, a neutral third party to help us find common ground. They promised never to take action without my explicit consent again. They didn't admit to forgery, didn't acknowledge the fraud, didn't say the actual words, "We were wrong." I put the letter in a folder, filed it with the rest of the documentation. Evidence, if I ever needed it. Thursday, Patricia called. The certified letters were delivered, both signed for. Have you heard from them? Phone calls I didn't answer. One written letter that avoided any real accountability. Are you considering their mediation suggestion? No. Good. Mediation only works when both parties are negotiating in good faith. They've already demonstrated they're not. What happens now? Now we wait. See if they escalate or back down. The legal protections are in place. They can't touch your property, your accounts, or your medical decisions. The ball is in their court. And if they try something else? Then we pursue criminal charges, file for a restraining order, make it clear that you're not negotiating, you're not backing down, and you're not vulnerable. Friday afternoon, I was in my garage organizing tools when my neighbor from 2 houses down stopped by. Frank Morrison, retired postal worker. We'd shared beers occasionally, helped each other with yard work, kept the friendly distance good neighbors maintain. Elias, got a minute? Sure. He shifted his weight, uncomfortable. Look, I don't want to pry, but I noticed some activity at your place last week. Real estate signs, lockbox, that kind of thing. Then it all disappeared. Everything okay? My kids tried to sell my house while I was in the hospital. His eyes widened. You're kidding. Wish I was. What did you do? Stopped them. Legally. Permanently. He nodded slowly. My brother-in-law went through something similar. His daughter got power of attorney, moved him into a facility, sold his condo. He didn't even know until it was done. Spent the last 2 years of his life in a place he hated. That's not happening to me. I can see that. He paused. If you need anything, witness statements, testimony, whatever, let me know. Thanks, Frank. We look out for our own on this street. Your kids should have remembered that. After he left, I thought about his brother-in-law. How many others ended up like that? How many people lost their homes, their autonomy, their dignity because family members decided they knew best? Not me, never me. Saturday morning, exactly 1 week after the confrontation, I received an email from my daughter's account. Subject line, please read this. I opened it. Dad, I've been thinking all week about what happened. Really thinking, like you asked. I went back through everything we did. The planning, the paperwork, the listing. I tried to see it from your perspective instead of ours. And I'm starting to understand why you're so angry. We took away your choice. We made decisions about your life without including you. We assumed we knew what was best without asking what you actually wanted. I'm not going to make excuses. I'm not going to say we meant well, even though we did, because intentions don't matter when the actions are wrong. I know that now. I can't speak for my brother, but I'm genuinely sorry. Not for getting caught, not for the consequences, but for treating you like you didn't have the right to control your own life. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect you to trust us again. I just wanted you to know that I finally understand what we did wrong. I hope someday we can talk again. But I'll wait until you're ready. Love, your daughter. I read it 3 times. No justifications, no requests, no conditions, just acknowledgement and apology. It was the first honest communication I'd received from either of them since this started. I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I saved the email, printed a copy, filed it with everything else. Then I went outside and worked in the yard, trimmed the bushes my wife had planted, pulled weeds from the flower beds, swept the porch, made everything neat and orderly and right, my house, my land, my choices, exactly as it should be. Sunday arrived cloudy and cool. I woke early, made coffee, sat in my kitchen watching gray light filter through the windows. 1 week since the confrontation, 10 days since I'd discovered the betrayal. My daughter's email sat in my inbox, still unanswered. My son hadn't contacted me since the certified letter. Patricia had called Friday to confirm everything was filed and secured. The police case remained open but inactive. Everything was resolved, legally protected, finished, except it wasn't. Because at 12:47 p.m., my phone rang. My son's number. I stared at it for 3 rings, then answered. What? Dad, please don't hang up. I said nothing. I'm outside, at the house. I need 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes to talk to you face to face. I walked to the front window. His car was parked at the curb. He stood on the sidewalk, phone to his ear, looking at my door. You have 3 minutes, I said. Front porch. You don't come inside. I hung up, met him at the door, stepped outside and closed it behind me, stood with my arms crossed, waiting. He looked tired, older than his 34 years. I read the letter from your lawyer, the will changes, the revocation. Good. I talked to my sister. She showed me her email to you, the apology. She was honest. You should try it. He flinched. I was wrong, Dad. Not just about the method, about all of it, the whole thing. I convinced myself we were helping, but really I was just controlling, making decisions I had no right to make. Took you long enough to figure that out. I know. I'm sorry. Sorry you got caught, or sorry you did it? Both. But mostly sorry I didn't respect you enough to ask first. He looked at the porch, the one I'd rebuilt 26 years ago. You built this, didn't you? The brickwork. Yes. It's still perfect. Not a crack. Not a shifted stone. That's what happens when you do it right the first time. He nodded. I never appreciated that. What you do, what you built. I looked at this house and saw something old and outdated, but you built something that lasts. Is that what you came to say? I came to say I was wrong, and I'm sorry. And I don't expect you to forgive me, but I needed you to hear me say it to your face. I studied him, looked for the calculation, the angle, the manipulation, saw only exhaustion and something that might have been genuine remorse. You forged my signature, I said, created fake legal documents, lied to professionals, staged my home for sale while I was unconscious from surgery. You want me to believe you're sorry after 1 week of consequences? No, I want you to know I finally understand what I did. Not just that it was illegal, that it was a betrayal. Of you, of Mom's memory, of everything you taught us about integrity. The mention of his mother landed like a stone in my chest, but I didn't let it show. Your 3 minutes are up. Dad, leave. If you're actually sorry, prove it by respecting that I don't want to see you right now. He nodded, turned to go, stopped. The house is yours. Your life is yours. I know that now. I hope someday you'll believe I mean it. He walked to his car, drove away. I stood on my porch, my perfect brickwork under my feet, my house solid behind me. Everything I'd built, everything I'd protected. The clouds broke, sunlight angled through, warming the stone. I'd won. Completely. Legally. Morally. My house was mine. My choices were mine. My children had learned exactly what happens when you underestimate a bricklayer who knows his rights and isn't afraid to enforce them. I walked back inside, locked the door with my new deadbolt, sat in my recliner and looked around at everything I'd fought for. Victory felt exactly like it should, solid, earned, and unshakable as properly laid brick.